Nichelle Crowther is the founder of Evolve Generation, where she has coached and led high performance teams in the fields of media, special forces, education, health, and technology. Her unique background enriches her ability to help teams achieve tangible results. So, today she'll be talking about how we can destigmatize mental health by creating a culture of resilience. So, hi, Nichelle, how are you doing today?
Thank you so much for introducing me there, Bianca, and thank you so much for this massive opportunity to speak to your amazing conference and your students and parents and educators. It's a real honour, and I am dialing in from the UK here, so thank you for that. So I have a question before we begin. Who has heard of 007? Pop it in the chat. Anybody heard about 007? The name's Bond, James Bond. Yes? Okay, great. So when I was a little girl, I wanted to be the female version of James Bond. However, in the UK, and still to this day, no female can join the Special Forces. So I, at university, decided that I was going to join the Reserve Forces. So it's a bit like the officer cadet sort of organization. And so I got my bit of fix of, sort of being a female James Bond there. However, throughout my career, I was in a fortunate position to be able to lead a task force of ex-SAS and Special Forces team members on a private reconnaissance mission for missing children across Europe. So obviously, when you're in a team, you have to be a great communicator, be self-aware, be socially aware, be able to manage relationships, and be a huge team player. And obviously, these skills were all necessary for being a leader and being a great communicator, but most of all, resilience was a huge play and characteristic that we needed to be part of that team. So obviously we were involved in those expeditions and those missions, and it was sometimes the difference between life and death. So we had to be really on our game and really self-aware and aware of our team members around us. Now, these 4 traits of socially aware, self-awareness, great communication, and self-management are also known as emotional intelligence. And emotional intelligence is learned, it is learnable, and we all have choices to upgrade our software for ourselves, right? But only if we're motivated and willing to do the work. So here at Evolve, we're really, really passionate about joining the dots between the parents, the community, and the school, and building resilience and emotional intelligence in our children. So my name is Nachelle Crowther, and I'm flying solo as a mother of 3 teenagers here in the UK. And over the last 8 years, I've had to become emotionally resilient, as my children's father hasn't been around for the whole 8 years to support them. So not only did he divorce me, he divorced my 3 children, who were all under 12 at the time. So he hasn't hugged them, he hasn't told them he loved them, he hasn't supported them or spoken to them in those 8 years. So I've had to explain to my children what it means about our inner sat-nav. We all have choices around how we show up, whatever age we are, at the point of where we become aware of who we are, communicating with. So even right from school age. And we should never allow someone else's emotional instability to affect our emotional stability. And that is really key to what we're going to be talking to today. No one said life was easy, but we can learn to become mentally strong, and we can learn to build resilience. And I'm going to share some little tips and tricks with you, and then we'll have Q&As at the end. So how do we become resilient? Well, it starts with understanding emotional intelligence. And as I said, we've got self-awareness, social awareness, self-management, and relationship management. Now, these 4 traits are really key if you're a student, if you're a teacher, if you're an adult, parent, or business owner. Now, in my opinion, emotional resilience and emotional intelligence should be taught in schools. As human beings, we should always be constantly upgrading ourselves and always be the student. There is never the finished article. So if somebody says there is, they're telling you a big fat lie. And perfection doesn't exist, contrary to social media. So let's look at these 4 traits and why working on these will build us resilience. So self-awareness is about knowing our inner state. We're going to just let Navia in there. I'm sure somebody's handling that. And it's about how we show up emotionally. And then we've got social awareness is about empathy. It's about being able to understand somebody else's perspective. We've all got opinions. We all sit around a table and discuss and debate, the world's problems. But it's about having the empathy to understand someone else's experience, someone else's perspective, and respect that, because my way isn't the right way, your way isn't the right way. And, we all have different opinions, otherwise the world would be really boring, right? So it's about understanding that, the world is diverse, we've all got different opinions, we all show up differently. And this is huge for teamwork, especially now as the world community has become smaller. So self-management. Are you a positive person? Are you a negative person? Are you a half glass full or a half glass empty person? And do you have a healthy, respectful perspective, again, of other people's opinions and views? Self-control. Can you perform whether you are under stress or whether you are, in a normal working or studying environment? Are you proactive? Are you a reactive person? So how do you show up under sort of moments of stress or pressure? And then relationship management is, around being a team player. So there are 2 really well-known global corporations, Google and McKinsey. And more and more corporations like this are looking for team players. They're looking for students who collaborate, communicate, connect, and can work together really well in a team. So just like these phenomenal students here at Collegey. Okay, and so the higher up the career ladder you go, or the better leader you become, the more emotional intelligence matters, especially in business. And get this, this is a really good kind of thing to remember. People are hired for their IQ, but people are fired for their lack of EQ. So what is, somebody's not allowed me to share my skin. Oh, there we go. Sorry. So what is resilience? Okay, so 2 examples of resilience are an elastic band being stretched, being put under pressure, but then the ability to bounce back and return to its normal state. Okay, and then the other sort of example is a sick person, goes through a little bit of an immune system sort of breakdown, but is able to come back, bounce back, recovering with good strength and good spirits and good humor. We like a bit of humor. So it's the ability to thrive and survive. And, we know that the whole globe is going through a really challenging time right now. But we're all connected and you're not alone. We are all experiencing challenges. And challenges are not a sign of weakness, right? They're an opportunity to show our strengths. It's an opportunity to shine. It's an opportunity to grab that challenge and say, do you know what? I'm not going to let this beat me. I'm going to try and get over that hurdle. I'm not going to be a victim. I'm going to be victorious. And we all have that choice. It's just whether we want to put the work in to start moving forward. Some people have challenges every day. Some people have challenges less often, but it's about that perspective around what those challenges are. So is there a solution? I often say to my children, mind map what you're feeling, and then let's explore what that looks like. Mind map if you've got a problem, what could the solutions and the options be? So there's always solutions in my book. I'm a real solution focused person. And if you're prepared to do the work, our life experiences often teach us how to grow and build resilience, sometimes without us even knowing. And, you know, we all know what physical pain looks like, right? So if you're a child or you're a parent, you've had a child and, you know, you've cut yourself or they've cut themselves, and we run around, you know, going to find the plasters or take them to the hospital and get the stitches stitched up. You know, if we have a sports injury, if you play kabaddi or cricket or hockey or netball, whatever it is, or soccer, you know, we know what our physical pain is, and we know on a scale of 1 to 10 what that looks like. But when we've got emotional pain, no one can see it. If we don't communicate it, no one can help us. And if we ourselves, if you don't know on a scale of 1 to 10 what your emotional pain is, we need to be able to teach children and students and young adults what that looks like. So, you know, if we can't feel, we can't heal. And that's really key to moving forward and growing mental strength and resilience. So, so how do we respond, right? So how many of you have been dumped by your first boyfriend or your first girlfriend? Do you remember that feeling? Oh, so I'm sure most of us have been there. But how did we respond? Did we mope around? Did we sort of, you know, were we really down and just ate, you know, Haagen-Dazs chocolate ice cream all the time? Or did we go, you know what? I'm not going to let them see that I'm really sad. I'm going to try and bounce back. And that's what resilience is. It's that springing back to a normal state. But that's not to say that you don't share how you're feeling, that you hide that, because you've got your close network of people, right? So you've got your friends, your sisters, your brothers, your parents, and you can share that those feelings with them, because there's great courage in being vulnerable. And again, that courage, if you show that courage in vulnerability or in vulnerable moments, you gain respect from your peer group, you gain respect from your community, because what they see is strength. And they see emotional intelligence, and it's inspiring, and they want to hang out with you, right? So it's a really good thing to share our stories when we're not feeling happy or we're feeling anxious, so that we can all help each other. And when you've gone through that particular experience and you've shared that vulnerability and learned from it, you are now in a position to serve others. You are now in a position to help somebody in your community grow like you've just grown. So it's a really great organic ongoing process that this kind of resilience concept throws up. You know, and it's really important to accrue a set of these learnable skills that you carry around in your backpack, you know, as you go through life. So once you've mastered them, once you've learnt them, and you're adding to your arsenal all the time, you will become a great leader, a great parent, a great spouse, a great member of your community, and possibly a world-leading game changer. So how many of you go to the gym? You know, we go and work out. How many of you, if you're parents or teachers, go and take your car to go and get maintained once a year? But how many of us go and work on our mental strength? You know, we look after our cars more than we look after our minds. You know, we need to be really present and mindful about this state that we need to be in. So, you know, our emotional strength comes from our inner sat-nav, and we need to know what our inner sat-nav is capable of and where it's capable of taking us. Now, it's all about our human spirit, right? It's about our soul. And I've just devised a little acronym for our soul. So S is about gaining strength and support from others around us. And O is about overcoming that pain, overcoming that adversity. And U is upgrading our software, upgrading our inner sat-nav. You know, throw out the old one, let's bring in some new tools and new skills. And then L is live to love. So that's my little acronym there. So if we just go to the next slide. So we communicate every day, okay? And everything we communicate comes from two places, either love or fear. So you either come from a great place of serving others, or you come from a place of concern or a place of anxiety. How many people have heard of Stephen Covey's The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People? So he talks about the circle of concern, and he distinguishes two groups of people. So you're either a reactive person or you're a proactive person. And I mean, some days we're actually a bit of both, right? So none of us are perfect, as we've all come to understand. But it's about, in our circle of concern, a lot of people focus on a lot of things that take up noise in our head. And there are a lot of things in the circle of concern that we can actually control and influence ourselves. And the idea is to shrink our circle of concern, but expand our circle of influence. So do you communicate from a place of fear or love? Are you angsty all the time? Are you anxious? Is there something inside? Is your energy off? Are you out of kilter? So we can identify that reactive people are often coming from a base of fear, and that proactive people understand they need to grow, understand they need to be accountable and show up, and come from a place of love. So it's easy to categorize these two people, but we need to identify, for us, we need to be responsible about how we show up. And so the circle of concern is like the reactive zone. It's our inner negative talk. And, you know, it might be, you know, first world problems. I wonder if that boy or that girl likes me. But in all seriousness, you know, there will be some, you know, bigger issues. You know, for parents, it might be, I have to deliver a shareholders presentation tomorrow. And so, you know, everyone, it's good to have that nervous energy, but some people can be all consumed by huge anxiety, like going into exams, for example. So we could say that we become victims to circumstance, and we let circumstances control our lives. But actually we can reframe it, and we can control the outcomes. And it's also about, how do we show up in these certain scenarios that we are faced with? So if we're in reactive mode, we only focus on the concerns, and they dominate our thinking, but we need to shrink that fear. So we can choose not to focus on that circle, but go into the circle of influence. Now, the circle of influence is the proactive zone, and it's the positive talk. It's all the, I am going to achieve this. I'm determined to do that. I will do this, rather than I can't, or it's not possible, or I'm not possible. And the circle of influence, which is the proactive zone, is also our growth zone. So it comes from a place of love. So we can learn to control our nerves. It might have been in your circle of concern, you know, my nerves about my anxiety, but if we give you breathing techniques or meditation or visualizations, or we prepare enough, we revise enough, then we are in control. So it becomes part of our influence. So therefore, we are growing our circle of influence and shrinking our concerns. Now, remember, confidence is a feeling, it's an emotion, and it's a learnable skill. And with the right support and guidance, you know, we can all grow our confidence and our self-esteem. It's only, you know, we look at all the little kids in the playgrounds at 4 and 5, they're full of confidence, most of them. It's only when we get older, when we get told limiting beliefs, you know, you aren't good enough, you can't do this, your body shape is this, you are not great at this. And we take all these negative thoughts and we put them in our files in our head, and we carry them around with us for the rest of our lives. So I'm saying, let's blow those negative thoughts away and start to control and influence our internal voice, our internal talk. So if you're proactive, you can often take criticism and feedback constructively, and you take it with love, and you go, thank you for sharing that I understand that you've shared that with me so that I can improve myself and be a better human, a better student, a better leader. But often people who are in the reactive zone, you know, are defensive, and they react by maybe sort of being a little bit angry or a bit offended or lose their temper. And so this is how you differentiate where you fall and how you can start to grow yourself and take action. So obviously, in extreme life circumstances, a person with a proactive mindset will move forward at a pace that is, you know, manageable and achievable for them. But, you know, for example, if we are processing grief or loss, and in a healthy way, we can move forward, but rather than trying to avoid it and block it out by something like alcohol or stimulants or sleeping or depression and not communicating how we are feeling, that's when it doesn't serve us. So we need to avoid allowing us to be consumed by things that often we would feel would challenge us, and take them as a learning opportunity to grow our resilience. So, the aim is not to place our energy into our concerns, because we could give so much more energy to our circle of influence. So even the Dalai Lama said, if there is no solution to the problem, don't waste time worrying about it. But if there is a solution to the problem, still don't waste time worrying about it. Okay. And it's all about mindset, right? So anything is possible, so if you were to write down the word impossible, just quickly write it down on your notebooks, tap it into chat. And what do you see there? So I'm possible, Avneet. Perfect. Okay, brilliant. Exactly. So impossible, etymology is fascinating. It's all about, what's our perspective on something? I always say to my kids, everything is possible within reason. There is always an opportunity to go and try something, and failing is to be celebrated. If we don't fail at something, if we don't give something a go, we will never grow, and we will never gain an experience that we can share with somebody else. And yes, Dax, that's brilliant. Impossible, it says itself says, I am possible. I love it. Perfect. Thank you. You're making me feel like I've got some friends now when you're interacting in the chat. Okay, so it's all about the mindset. It's all about the reframing and being brave. And when we feel vulnerable, sharing our story so that we can resonate with somebody else. So I'm just going to quickly move a couple more slides, Bianca. I know we're sort of, I'm not able to move my slides forward. But I just wanted to cover off. So resilient leaders, if we look at Maya Angelou, if we look at Gandhi, and if we look at Mandela, all of those people were able to have huge resilience, which pulled them through their hard times. And Maya Angelou's poem, I Still Rise, is massive. She said, I can't actually share my slides, so I'm not sure if there's something technical going on, but she wrote, you may trod me in the very dirt, but still, like dust, I'll rise. And this shows her resilience about no matter what obstacles she faces, she was determined to get freedom on the agenda. So I've got one little last slide here, which I still can't process. And I'd like you to write this mantra down. And this is a three-pronged approach to resilience from Dr. Edith Grothberg, who's a PhD, and she wrote a brilliant paper on the International Resilience Project. And she says, I have people around me who can support me. I am able to be responsible for myself. I can find help when I need it. And then last three tips from me about upgrading ourselves, our mental strength and our resilience is be open and embrace change. Don't dwell on the negative. Go on a daily basis and have self-reflection and get to know yourself really well. It will make you a fantastic human being. If you can reflect on each day, what went well, how you showed up, how you responded to something that maybe didn't go well, that's being really emotionally intelligent. And you need to grow this, because remember, if you want to be a leader of a big corporation, you will be retained and not fired for having a lack of EQ. Set yourself mini tasks each day. So create goals, do meditation, do some physical exercise, do something that is going to grow your mind, body and soul, and take action. Don't just think it, don't just say it, don't just write it in your diary. Actually go and do it, because it grows your mind, your body and your soul. And then be positive, be proactive, go and have a growth mindset, have fun and find joy in what you do all day, every day, with a great sense of humor, and develop a strong personal connection with everyone around you, and be kind and caring. So Bianca, I hope I didn't run over too much. I know we've got some Q&As, and over to you.
So first of all, thank you for that session. It's very important now to build emotional resilience, especially during this pandemic. So in your experience, how is building emotional resilience in your childhood different from building it in your teens or early 20s?
Ah, now I'm really old. I'm 51, so I didn't know about this stuff when I was younger, right? So you guys are so lucky that there's so much knowledge out there, and I kind of knew what I wanted to do. I knew I was going to be in service to others. I knew I wanted to deliver a purpose. But it wasn't until I got older, I kind of realized what I wanted to do in terms of helping people in the education space. And Steve Jobs does a brilliant, I think it's Stanford University graduate speech on YouTube. You've got to go and look it up. And he talks about joining the dots. So it's like, when you started younger at university and you left university, you weren't particularly sure where you'd end up, but then going through life, you look back and you go, that's why that happened. That's what that lesson taught me. And so I think at every stage, we need to be teaching really primary early years kids about emotional intelligence and equal dignity. Then we need to be building on that for teenagers so that we grow them into the leaders of today. Thank you. Great question.
Yes, I agree. It's very important to build emotional resilience among teens. So, in your experience, what are some of the challenges you have faced while helping others, particularly young people, build resilience?
Oh, so what challenges I face? Well, I think I was involved in a situation where quite a few teenagers were going to be expelled from my son's school. And I was really incensed that the school, so it was a private school here in the UK, and I was really incensed that all they wanted to do was protect their brand. It wasn't about the students. It was about, getting rid of these children because they were going to damage the brand and the PR that would come out of it. Now, if you're in education, that is so wrong. Okay, we are responsible as adults for supporting our teenagers in the emotional stages of their neuroscience development of their in puberty. And that can go on until they're 20, 21, 22, 23. People develop at different ages. So I stood in with a group of parents and we challenged the school on expulsion, which is an adult concept of punishment. So if anybody's read the Steve Peters, the chimp paradox, he talks about the inner chimp, but he also talks about expulsion and how that is really the wrong thing to do. It's an adult punishment, yet we implement it into our schools. And we, at a time when our kids need support, they need guidance and they need steering back to their North Star. But what we do is we just kick them out of school and go, somebody else's problem. That is not education. I don't know what that is, but that is not education in my book. So expulsion for me does not work. So I found that challenging because I was challenging the education system and trying to get this change. And that's why I started Evolve.
Wow, that's really great. So I think we have a question from the audience from Urja. How do you deal with pressure if you have a lack of confidence?
Okay, so it's kind of two things there. So there's the confidence thing and there's the pressure thing. So you can grow your confidence by learning to love and know yourself first. So it's a journey. You have to start building your inner tower of strength first. And I did share, sort of a few things. It's like, breathing techniques, or if you've got something that really gets you into a space where you can have some headspace. If you love painting, if you love playing music, find your thing that gets you into that Zen state where you can reflect on who you are and how you are. And also learn to love yourself. Here's a little tip. If you can look in the mirror and look at yourself and say, Nichelle, I love you, without feeling weird, that you have to get comfortable of loving yourself, because then things are possible. And you can then start to grow your confidence, and having experiences grows your confidence. So hang out with people who feed you all that love. So, you need to, they always say that the top 5 people that you hang out with are the soul sum of who you are. So go and find those people in your community. Don't go and look for the negative people. Go and hang out with the positive people. Go and hang out with the inspiring leaders. Go find somebody that can inspire you and guide you and mentor you to do what you're passionate about. Grow your confidence with them. And then dealing with pressure it's back to that circle of concern. It's your mindset. It is, is this really a pressure? Can I find a solution for this pressure? Can I find help, support, and guidance for this pressure? And I have to communicate what pressure I'm feeling. If you can't communicate, and this is an emotional intelligence point, if you can't communicate the pressure you're feeling, nobody can help you, and it just builds up, and then you explode. So we want to stop that build up, and we want to go and find somebody in your community that can help you. Great question, Orja. Thank you.
That was really helpful, and I think that concludes our session for today. Thank you again, Nichelle, for this very insightful panel, and stay tuned for the next one.
Okay, good luck with the rest of the conference, and thank you, Bianca.